welcome back to Lard Island for this, the fifth in the short series introducing What a Cowboy, and we've got the first copy of the print run here, which is fabulous to see it all bound and beautifully put together. In the last film we saw Nick and I play a small game with just a couple of figures aside. What a Cowboy has got a very simple system for pick-up games where both sides can agree on a dollar value for their force and then select characters and weapons up to that sum. So a greenhorn costs $10, a shootist $20, a gunslinger $40 and a legend $60. The more you spend on characters, the less you have to buy equipment for them. So you could agree on $150 for a game and both sides would then select up to that sum, build their force and get cracking. It's a great way to introduce yourself to the game. Also included in the rules is a What a Cowboy campaign system for a few dice more. This really brings the game and the characters to life. A campaign is fought over a territory with a mix of scenery inspired by reality and with a healthy dose of the likes of the High Chaparral, Gunsmoke and more modern programs such as Hell on Wheels or The English. Now let's take a look at how we create our territory. In its simplest form, the territory we'll fight over can be represented by this schematic diagram. At its centre is the town. This could be a historical location such as Tombstone or somewhere fictional such as Lardville. Immediately adjacent to that are the four outskirt districts. You can roll to determine what these areas are, with results ranging from the railroad station or the livery yard to the schoolhouse, the prospectors camp, or maybe newly built homesteads or something similar. In the rules we suggest 8 different options, but you can choose the ones that suit your collection or roll a dice or even add your own ideas if you fancy. Further out are the 5 outlying territories which are about a day's ride from the town. These are more remote and 11 possible outcomes can be diced for. The desert, the mountains, the railroad construction site, a Spanish mission, a ranch, ghost town, abandoned cavalry fort even, all possible and more, all of which give real character to our territory. At its simplest, you can just scribble down the territories on a piece of paper, or if you're feeling artistic, you can produce a proper map like this one. And this is actually included in the rules and is a great place for you to start your campaign using this map for that purpose. Now here we can see Lardville is at the centre of the map, with the outskirts, 4 outskirts areas containing the railroad station, the timber mill, the schoolhouse and a new suburb with the skeletal frames of new homes being erected there. Outside this, and outside the immediate vicinity of Lardville, we have the outlying territories, which are around a day's ride away. We've got the Lazy S Ranch, we've got the old Spanish mission at the bottom there, we've got the mine off to the right, the mountains and the desert at the very top. It's worth noting here that terrain requirements for all of these are much less than the classic cowboy town, and the only time the campaign will see a fight in Lardville is the grand finale. The final game of the campaign. So as with our game at the Cowboy Ranch we have still set up here, the terrain requirements are really not huge. So now we have our territory. How does the campaign work? Well, it begins with both sides fielding a mix of greenhorns and shooters. Over the next 5 or 6 games we'll track these individuals as they gain experience and, more to the point, reputation, and they develop skills. Like all great westerns, the initial skirmishes are simply the lead up to the final showdown in the town. But these early games are really important. Winning ground is important, as the various locations on the map can provide income and loot, both of which will help you equip your gang and possibly hire some additional muscle. A campaign's normally made up of 6 games. The first 2 games are always played in the outlying territories, with games 3, 4 and 5 in either the outlying territories or the outskirts of the town. The town is the setting for the final shootout. After each game the players will see how the characters have gained reputation. Each character will keep a running tally of their reputation score, and that will see them gain promotions and benefits such as new skills or additional desperado cards or bonanza tokens. Now for both sides, getting your characters to advance as much as possible to be on top form for the grand finale is really what the campaign's all about. In sporting terms, you have a number of warm-up matches to get yourself completely match fit before you go into the final. Now let's see an example of how that works. In our last game, the Cooperinold kid here survived the game, so he got 2 reputation points for that. He was on the winning side, so he gets another point. He didn't put anybody out of action, but he did wound Little Jim, so he gets 2 points for that. Now that's a total of 5 points from this one game. Now that's enough to elevate the kid from Greenhorn to Shootist and also gain him 1 skill. Now to do that, we check the rules. The kid rolls a d6 to see what skill tree he's used, and he rolls a 1. Now that's the shooting skill. He then rolls a d6 on the shooting skills table and rolls another 3, and he's discovered that he's ambidextrous. Now this will allow him to use 2 pistols at once, 1 in each hand. That's a pretty significant bonus. The kid has started his career with real success, and in our next game he'll start as a shootist with a bonanza token, and that's really great news for him. Sheriff Ron Seal completed the game we played without being killed, so that earns him 2 reputation points. He was on the winning side, so he gets another point, and he put 2 enemy characters out of action. Now both of these were lower level than him, so he just gets 2 points each. If he took out a higher level character, that could be 4 points. Anyway, that's a whopping 7 points. It actually, if we were playing a full campaign game, it would be more if we allowed the kid and the sheriff to gain additional points for reducing their opponent's force morale to 0 by killing both of them. But in such a small game as this, I'm just going to ignore that. Now, it's a bigger challenge to get from gunslinger to legend than it is to move from greenhorn to shootist. You need to go from 15 points to 30 points, but that 7-point result will certainly gain the sheriff a new skill. Now what we do is we roll a d6, and the sheriff rolls a 6, which is great news for him as it means he can choose the skill tree that he rolls on. Now the sheriff chooses a toughness skill, and he rolls a 2, which means he becomes ice cold. In future, being forced to dodge will not result in the sheriff getting a pin token. He's becoming a very hard man indeed. Well, as the sheriff and the kid have won the game at KY Ranch, they can add that to the territory they control, and that in future will generate income and possibly loot for them at the end of each game in the campaign. Just as importantly, characters who put her out of action, not the ones who are killed because they're killed, the ones who are put out of action by losing all of their action dice, roll to see what their fate is. I've saved this until last, as I know a number of you are very concerned about what happened to Little Jim in the last game. As you'll recall, it was a combination of shots from the kid and the sheriff that put Little Jim out of action, badly wounded. And you'll be glad to know that Little Jim survived the ordeal. However, Little Jim is no longer the pretty boy in the ranch bunkhouse, having suffered hideous facial scars to the extent that anybody in future attempting to brawl with Little Jim will lose at combat dice. Effectively, so horrified are they by the monstrosity that's bearing down upon them in a fight. And I know that feeling from gaming over the years with Nick. So there we are, that's an overview of the campaign system. As you can see, the chance to see your characters develop and grow is fun and hugely immersive. I know that during the campaigns we played as part of the playtest process, it was great to see effectively real characters emerge to really enhance the game and take it to the next level. Well, that's all for this film. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the campaign mechanism. Obviously all of that is detailed in the rules, and they are still available currently in the advanced order stage, so some great deals there now is the best time to buy. All that remains for me to do is to buckle on my 6-shooter and head up to the cookhouse for a delicious plate of beans.